All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out tonight. First, I need to point out the exits. There is an exit there that goes directly outside. The way you came in, of course, goes out to the foyer and out. This goes through my office, and you can get out of the building from there, and that's a closet. So don't go that way. Not an exit. First, I'm going to ask that if anyone out there would like to speak tonight during our public comment, I'm assuming a few of you do, we have a sign-up sheet there. I think it'll be easiest if you sign up, and we'll go through the list for your comments. But, don't feel obligated. If nobody wants to comment, that's fine too. So tonight we start with a presentation about from Five Corners Development about the Malta Speedway site proposal. And so I think Samit Gupta is going to do the presentation.
Good evening, everybody. I want to first start by
Is the mic on?
council members for your time this evening, as well as the community. As you all know, the conversation is about the Malta Speedway, and again, my name is Smee Gupta. So just to get a little background information, before we got started with this project, or I guess before this whole thing even was a project, we got approached by a brokerage shop that was hired by Howard Commander, who's the owner of the Saratoga Speedway, and that brokerage shop came to us with the opportunity to buy raw land. What we've learned over time is that he's been trying to sell this property for quite some years, and shortly after our first presentation, he actually put out a statement that was meant for the racing community, and I want to pull out a few parts of this that I think are important to reflect upon. One is that he's asking the community to respect his decision. For personal reasons, he's deciding to sell. The second, which I think is more appropriate for us to focus on, is really his viewpoint, which is the town of Malta has changed over the past decade, and he believes it's now time to move forward. Now, over the last 4 or 5 months, we've spent a considerable amount of time going out to the community and getting feedback from as many people as possible. We've had over 50 meetings with Malta stakeholders, HOAs, local associations, neighborhood associations, a sample of which are on the pages in front of you. The outreach has represented over 1,000 single-family homes in the area. Our total outreach has gone beyond 2,000 homes, and we will continue to do this as an iterative process. We are not done with being in front of the community and making sure that their feedback is heard, which is a critical part of our process. And as we think about what really was the defining vision around our concept plan, there's 3 or 4 key attributes. One is, and these are all driven by needs, one is workforce housing, the other is senior housing, a need for more retail amenities along the Route 9 North Corridor, and then lastly is community benefits. So we want to proactively talk about some of the community benefits that we're hoping to propose to you guys. So let's talk about for a second where we are in Malta today and just give you sort of macro background. Over the last 4 years, rents have been up about 25%. The rents just last year were up 8.8%, while wages only increased by 3.3%. And what's forecasted before the global announcement that came out recently is another increase of 20% in rents over the next 4 years. So as we were going through this process and we were talking to large corporations, there was 3 major corporations that we sat down with, and I want to pull out one specific quote that resonated with all the different groups that we've spoken with, and that is the number one business issue we have today is employment. Trying to hire and retain employees, given the local cost of housing, is creating a ripple effect that impacts everyone in Malta. We've heard this from Saratoga Hospital, we've heard this from Global Foundries, we've heard this from Arnoff. It's an issue that they're facing in Saratoga Springs, and it's definitely an issue that's now come about in Malta. Now, I want to talk about workforce housing. So there's a common misconception that's been floating around that this is Section 8 housing, this is a bait and switch for market rate. We are doing a very strict workforce housing program as part of our project. And so if you focus in on 60% AMI, which stands for Area Median Income, which is a function of Saratoga County's area median income, the target salaries that we're going after are $50,000 to $70,000 on average. This is an average salary that we're going after. And just to give you a sense of what those rents are, you have a 1-bedroom at $1,300 and then a 3-bedroom going up to $1,800. Now, if you look at that in comparison to what market rate rents are, so if you look at the third column in from the bottom, today a 1-bedroom is $1,950 using your market rate comps, Saratoga Lofts, Granville, Steeplechase, and then going all the way up to $3,300 for a 3-bedroom. Now, the important thing is to sort of extrapolate this out over the course of the year and think about what does this mean to the local younger demographic, the seniors that are paying these market rate rents. They have the ability to save with this type of housing we're proposing. They have the ability to save $7,500 all the way up to $18,000 each year. And that's important because that means more money for them to be able to spend at bars and restaurants, which means more sales tax that comes to Malta. It also means that it gives the next generation an opportunity to eventually be able to have the American dream and be able to save up this money so that one day they can put a down payment on a house. So we looked at actual salary profiles to give you a perspective of the type of demographic that we're targeting here. So we're talking about first, second year deputy sheriffs from Saratoga County, registered nurses locally, Boston Spa school teachers, and lab technicians at Global Foundries, just as an example. These are all profiles of people who would be able to live in the type of housing that we're proposing. So it's one thing to show you the data. The other thing to show how it's working in practice. Our partners who are NRP Group that are represented here tonight, they just delivered on a 202-unit workforce housing project in Saratoga across from Saratoga Amtrak called the Reserve at Saratoga Springs. And we just got a sample of their first month's leases. And within this, you can see that you have four nurses, school teacher, county administrator. You have your middle income workforce that I think we all believe needs to be living in our own backyards. And to give you a sense of where they're coming from, using the sample of the first 100 or so leases that they've signed, 3 out of 4 of the tenants previously lived in Saratoga County, and almost 90% of them are coming from New York State. As we think about the site plan, which I'll go into on the next slide, just to give you a sense of how we're thinking about the retail or community programming. So as part of our outreach and going in front of all these communities, in addition to going door to door across 230 homes, we've heard some common feedback and threads as to what people are looking for. And from a service side, they're talking about fitness centers, daycares, food and beverage. You can see the array of different ideas that people have thrown out there. And then one of the common things that we've heard is a need for a pool or a splash pad for a potential community benefit. So not just for the master plan, but for everybody in Malta to benefit from. Now I just want to walk you through this concept plan and the different phases. So if you start in the bottom right quadrant, that's the workforce housing concept that we're proposing. Again, it's going to look and feel and have the same amenity packages as the reserves at Saratoga Springs. For those who haven't had a chance to go look at it, and I know a handful of you have already, would love for you guys to take a drive up there just to get a sense of what does this type of housing look like. Above that, so the top right is where we're proposing starter townhomes. So think about it as your kids are living in workforce housing for 3-4 years. They're able to save $7,000 to $18,000 per year and eventually be able to save up to eventually buy a starter townhome. Going over to the bottom left there, that's the senior housing. So the largest aging population cohort, largest population by aging cohort is seniors. So what we've proposed is senior housing, and what you can sort of see in the top left there is the orange box, which represents the senior center. So one of the community benefits we want to talk about is being able to deliver a year-round community center for the seniors that they could use 24/7, since a lot of them get pushed out of the community center during the summer months. And then above that is what we're referencing right now is just multifamily. All this is going to be driven by market demand and what the macro conditions are at the time and what the demand for that demographic is at the time. In terms of community benefits, the obvious one is just the impact fees and the magnitude of that for a project like this. The senior center that I just referenced, walking trails. So throughout, I should have pointed this out, sorry. Throughout this entire concept plan, where you can see the little green boxes around, there's tree-lined walkways, and we view this as both a benefit as an amenity, an outdoor amenity for the residents, as well as something that when you come to the local restaurant, you have a walking trail to be able to walk through. So again, senior center, walking trails, the community pool and splash pad, and then one of the asks has been to be able to deliver a sidewalk to downtown. So we would do our part in delivering that on to the next developable site. Hopefully, I kept that within my 10-minute allotment. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Sami. One thing is you mentioned a community pool. Do you have any concept of how that would be managed? Would it be a pool for just the residents or a pool for the entire community? And
Yeah, it's a great question. So we've actually proactively reached out to both the Boys and Girls Club as well as the YMCA. I think it's more appropriate for the YMCA just given the demographic that they focus on, and they've shown their interest in wanting to be an operating partner. So they're not looking to own. What we would do is deliver that to the community as a donation and then have the Y come in and be an operating partner.
okay,
How many units is going to be there?
Say that again?
How many units?
So what we've proposed is 700. That's going to be phased out over 5 to 10 years. And again, it's really market driven. So based on the demand that's there, and as the demand shows up, we would look to deliver.
When you say demand driven, that means below 700 and or higher than 700?
No, I'm saying the maximum that we're proposing from concepts are 700. But again, that would be delivered 5 to 10 years as Global delivers on their second phase. If Global doesn't deliver, then we may slow that down.
So are the units
I'm sorry. There will be a time for public comment, so and you can ask those questions. But I'll ask that question. Will the units be all rental, or will there be some opportunity for purchase?
Yeah, so for the starter townhomes, that's where we're looking as a potential option for sale. So we're cognizant that there's a need for both rental as well as for sale product. And again, on the starter townhomes, we're looking to try to deliver something that's going to be below where market pricing is today and potentially even income based as well.
And as far as the senior housing, will that be? It won't be market rate. That'll be
It's
affordable senior housing.
once we get to the appropriate step, we'll get market studies done to really dictate and show where the demand is. Whether that's more on the affordable side or more on the market rate side, and then make a determination.
What's your vision for the commercial district of the 5.5 acres?
Yeah, so as I had shown on the previous slide, so we are open to definitely community programming options as well as any of the other options that we talked about. So, whether it's bar, restaurant, Italian, Mexican, steakhouses, or otherwise, and or daycares, gyms. One of the concepts we had previously talked about is potentially a brewery. So we're open to all ideas and suggestions. I think the important thing to recognize is that we aren't going after big box retail. We're not trying to bring Target and Best Buy here. We're focused on really trying to find local operators that have credibility, expertise, and track record that everyone in the town knows about. Yes, sir.
I got a question. Have you gone through our recently updated comp plan?
I have. I've gone through it beginning to end, but it's been about 3 or 4 months now.
Okay. On page 15, it states that the town's ongoing shift away from the use of planned development districts, which have resulted in less predictable development patterns across the town. Recently, I've had a lot of discussion on PDDs, and as far as a community benefit, if this happens, I would like to see a town need versus a town want in that, so.
Absolutely. And I think that's the benefit of PDD is that gives you a bit more control over what it is that you're looking for in town.
Thank you.
And you had stated that you were going to build based on demand.
Yes, sir.
So this could potentially be a 5, 10, 15-year build-out depending on the interest in living there.
Absolutely. Like there's no reason why we would build housing if there's no occupancy for it. It doesn't make sense for the community. It doesn't make sense for us.
So how much of the initial proposal or the purchase of the property, you must have thought through from a business case perspective, how long it's going to take to build it out in order for you to recoup your your fees and your profits.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, ultimately, we're trying to first come up with a concept plan that you guys are comfortable with the community is comfortable with, and then be able to back into what we need to do from a time value of money perspective. I mean, there is a threshold that we obviously need to be able to hit. And if it's something that goes beyond that, then, we have to reconsider our position.
And how dependent is it upon Global completing its next?
I don't think today,
Manufacturing.
as we stand, the biggest need that we see, and I think we've heard from the community, is that there is a need for workforce housing, right? So there's pieces of this, including if we do the senior as affordable, like there's pieces of this where the demand is there today. The retail, I think the demand is there today. I can tell you that in some of the retail operators we've spoken to, that are, again, local capital region owners, there's a big demand to wanting to be in Malta. So being able to solve for where the demand is at first is really our focus.
And what is your firm's track record of projects like this that have 100% of them been completed according to plan? Have you bought your way out of them if they weren't completed to plan? What's your
Yeah, so
success rate?
I actually launched my company just going back 3 years ago, Five Corners Development. Previous to that, I was with a 42-year-old developer, as a developer that's been around for 42 years, where in my time with them alone, we delivered on 1,200 units. None of the projects that I had with them never moved forward. Projects take time. Some of them get delayed. The only project that I can say personally where it didn't move forward is the project in Troy. But that's an ongoing conversation that I hope to bring back to the table.
Okay, and in terms of one last question, in
Yeah,
terms
sure.
of the
Oh, sorry,
amenity.
can I just add one more thing to that? Our partners are NRP Group, so I think they're the third largest developer in the country. They've built 40,000 homes, if I'm not mistaken, on that magnitude. So as it relates to being able to deliver on master plans, big projects, small projects, they have a long track record and multiple decades.
Yeah, I appreciate the answer. I've been reading a lot lately in the Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg of these ghost towns.
Yeah.
They start constructing them and then they just never finish them and they abandon them. That was the purpose of the question. Last question, in terms of the amenities or the community benefits,
Yeah.
do those get built as the demand gets built? Or do you build the pool and you build the walking trails in anticipation of building everything out so the community could use them?
Yeah, it really comes down to what community benefits we end up all agreeing upon, right? So like if there's 10 ideas thrown out there, we probably can't deliver on all 10, but let's say we pick and choose 2 or 3 of them. It really, as we talk through phasing and we talk through the project in more detail, we'll be able to say, okay, during this phase, we'd be able to deliver on this. I think something like the community pool would be something that we would have as part of our first phase for obvious reasons.
And I apologize, I do have one more question.
Sure, go ahead.
One more thing. In terms of the competition for the property, do you have an exclusive right to purchase the property, or is there competitive bidding for the purchase of the property?
No, we're under contract.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
How is the, seeing that this is affordable housing, how is the project funded? Is it taxpayer funded? Is it what?
Yeah, so it's tax credits. So it's a tax credit program. We bring in investors. They're able to, as a benefit for them, being able to fund this type of housing where the rents are obviously substantially lower than market rate. They get the benefit of tax credits on the back end.
I have a follow-up question, dealing with the commercial property. When I say what you envision, are you going to own the commercial properties, or do you want to build the apartments first and then try to sell off the commercial section to businesses?
It would all really depend. So we've had some conversations. So one of the things we've heard from the community as part of our outreach was a need for a small footprint grocery store. So we are engaged with one of the small footprint grocery stores that I think everybody would love to see in town. And they said that they're open to both leasing and or owning. So it really just depends on the operator, their desire. But we would look to deliver on, as much of the retail as we can up front.
Would you want to build the apartments first, then the commercial? Same
Not
time?
necessarily. It really just comes down to, if and when we get to the point of having a green light, we would engage all those retailers in a more earnest way, get into contracts, and then figure out their timing relative to our timing. But there's no reason why one would go before the other at this point in time.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Do you want to say anything, Cynthia?
Well, if we're done with comments from the town board.
I got a few, I got a few
okay.
first. First off, I respect the commander. It's his property. He could sell it, you know. I would wish he would grow grass or, 300-foot Ferris wheel, but we'll have to get town board approval, all right? The outreach program you did to the HOAs, I saw them all, but you didn't say if they were pro or against it. So you got all those HOAs, they're all for it?
Yeah, so from the feedback that we got from the meetings, there was obviously people who had questions and comments, but by and large, the feedback that we got was positive.
Okay.
I mean, there may be a little bit of bias of those who show up, but I think for the most part, people, the biggest thing that we heard is that there's a lot of misinformation out there, and they appreciated the fact that we were giving them transparency about the project and appreciated the openness and feedback loop.
Well, I do like the profile of people you're bringing, and it all looks like they're going to own a transportation, some vehicle, some kind. And all I envision is 700 cars coming out of that area and going south to this intersection.
Yeah, so to that,
Along with,
oh, sorry.
so, see, that's isolated, but there's other people building on Dunn Street. There's other people that developers want to develop on the southern part of Route 9. And so 700 units at a minimum, 700 cars, I'm going to say 5 are going to go north during the day and the rest are going to go south. That's just my opinion. So I'm not for the green light. I'm against this project like I was the last time.
Well, first I will just say that this project is far from a done deal. It's at the sole discretion of this board to decide whether or not it moves forward. I see some merits. Obviously, there's also, a lot of public discontent. 700 homes is not the limit. I mean, we can massage this really any way we want if we can come up with an agreement of some sort. I would like to move forward with a workshop at least to discuss it. It doesn't mean they would make application, but that's what I would like to suggest, is that we'd go into a more detailed discussion about what we want to see, what we think is a community benefit, and, not just totally shut it down from day one.
Cynthia, would that be an open public workshop?
Yes,
Can I get a roll call on that?
unless anybody else wants to discuss first.
I have a lot of grave concerns about this project. I do not believe it meets the vision of the 2023 comp plan, especially referring to PDDs and how to utilize PDDs. I am willing to have more discussions. That's where I stand.
Okay. Craig, you agreeable to a workshop? Again, even having a workshop does not mean
No,
that we move this project forward.
We have heard out other planned development districts recently in town, and they were actually smaller than these here. The traffic concerns me, but I've always stated that any developer coming into town, I'll hear them out. But, so I guess I got to hear you out.
Okay, so we'll reach out and try to schedule a workshop at some time when it's convenient for all of us. That meeting, that workshop will be, of course, open to the public, and it will also be streamed.
Can I get a yes or no roll call, please?
Sure.
Go forward with the workshop.
Can I make a?
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess one of my concerns is if people with more modest incomes will be there, it's not particularly convenient if you don't have a car. We have no buses right now in Malta. I don't believe there's a sidewalk on that stretch of the road. They're talked about putting in, that would connect it to downtown. I guess I missed that. Is that
Yeah, well, we would do our part on bringing it to like the next
your part?
developable parcel.
Okay, so
then
it might be a sidewalk that goes 200 yards and stops.
Well, the next developer, I think there's a 16-acre
Okay.
parcel. That's
Who is the next developer? Who?
the group that has the 16-acre.
So we just went over 700 by a lot. Thank you.
But also the other thing is that we would absolutely be proposing to, similar to what our partners did at the reserve at Saratoga, is reaching out to CDTA and try to see if we
You'll
can
have your
get the
opportunities.
Route 9 North exit, the bus line set up again.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Jen, do you want to take a roll call to see if we're going to entertain a workshop?
Councilwoman Connor?
I'm going to abstain right now.
Convenient, I'm here. I'm a no.
Ricky?
I'm a no.
I'm a yes.
Councilman Warner?
No.
I'm willing to hear more, though I have a lot of reservations, so I'm a yes.
Well, that's 2-2.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's not passed in my book.
Well, thank you. I'm afraid, I'm concerned that we're missing out on an opportunity, but it's the will of the board, so. I think 2-2 is a no.
Well, it can't move forward if it's 2-2. It's not approved. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I know we vote against
you.
next year.
All right, well, next on our agenda, we're going to follow our agenda. It's brief till we get to the public.
We just voted on a workshop. We just voted on to have another workshop. The community will get the chance to
You know
speak.
what, we can certainly reconsider that after the public comment, if we'll see how that goes. So if you want to stick around and comment, that'd be great, so. But next on our agenda, we'll do the public comment during the regular public comment part of our meeting. Next on our agenda, and she's got a big crowd tonight, at our business meeting every month, we do a resident of the month. And tonight's resident is Renee Farley. I can. Yeah, we've been on this for a while. So, okay, so tonight's resident of the month is Renee Farley. Many of you probably know her. We try to nominate once a month a resident of the month who does a lot for their community. And we picked Renee because because of her exceptional service to veterans. Renee was a founding member of Malta Veterans Appreciation Program. She goes above and beyond to help Malta's vets with anything they need. She rallies volunteers to provide help with rides to and from appointments, yard cleanup, grocery shopping, and anything else you can imagine. She has organized the improvements to the David T. Wallingford Veterans Memorial Park here in the town complex. If you haven't gone out there to see it, it's a beautiful little park. It started as a monument and now it's a park. This year we enjoyed our inaugural 9/11 ceremony in there. I think perhaps the most important and impactful thing that is accomplished is the Homes for Heroes project. Malta Veterans Appreciation Program has provided homes for 8 homeless veterans and their families in Malta. They take these dilapidated manufactured homes and transform them into very nice homes for veterans. It's a tremendous effort with a lot of moving parts, and every time a home is dedicated, it's an unbelievable emotional experience for everybody, not only the vet and their families, but everybody there to witness it. Now, Renee will say that it takes a village and she doesn't do it all by herself, which that is true. She garners a lot of volunteers from all around the community, but without her efforts, none of it would get done. So thank you, Renee, for your service to the veterans and our community. And I think she has a few words she'd like to say herself.
I have a tendency to ramble, so I actually wrote it down because I know I'm on a time clock here. But I say I'm deeply, deeply honored for this. I wasn't expecting it until Cynthia called. So I just, for something that I believe in so much, to be part of this community in Malta. We started it in 2016, and it was from day one that the whole town, the community just embraced us. And Craig Warner, just to show how involved Malta is with this organization and for our veterans. Craig Warner is actually one of our co-founders who started this organization with me in 2016, Dave Wallingford, Paul Massow. But it didn't stop there. Cynthia has actually swung a hammer. I've seen her pick up brakes. She's actually been volunteering. I think some of the other, Matt McLaughlin has been there volunteering. His wife has volunteered, a donor of furniture. I mean, every time we call Matt, Cynthia, they're all there. And Jen is part of our brick program. So on the way out, there is a brick application out there, or call Jen, Cynthia, and buy a brick to support our veterans. Every dime, 100% goes to our veterans. It is not just mine, it is my volunteers and all of those that show up. So anything as simple as making a phone call, picking up some groceries, dropping off somebody who just sometimes, we've lost 2 veterans in the last 2 years to suicide. Right now, we're trying to work with a third that is very close to that. And you don't have any idea how much just picking up that phone and saying, hey, you know what? Can I take you somewhere? Can we take you to lunch? How you doing today? Just knowing that they know that somebody's out there that really cares. But serving our veterans in the community is a cause that's very close to my heart. My family's all military. My nephew died in Afghanistan. They've given so much for our freedom. They deserve our unwavering support. And I can't thank the town of Malta and Jen and Craig and Matt, all of you guys, and the community that has volunteered with us. And I thank you so much for this honor. Thank you.
You deserve it. All right, we gotta have a photo op with the whole board.
We do?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They're all coming down.
Okay. Oh, and the Godwin family has crawled under my trailers. The whole family. Sorry. We're not there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Matt. Thanks.
No problem. It's weird.
Okay, next I will ask that you stand, if you are able, to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Have a moment of silence. Okay, I will now entertain a motion to accept the town clerk minutes from 11:25. Craig,
Second?
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So now is the public comment from town residents. I did ask that you had signed in. Did everybody want to speak? Sign in? I'll remind you that this is not a question and answer period. It is public comments. If you have specific questions that you would like this board to address, please either leave your number with the clerk or submit them in writing. I am going to ask that you limit your remarks to 2 minutes. Thank you, Jen. And I will set a timer. So first on our list is Karen ZW from Schenectady, New York.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. I'm actually a commercial real estate agent, and I'm here on Howard Commander's behalf. Howard wishes he could be here, but unfortunately, he's enjoying sunny Florida right now. So there's a few things I wanted to read on his behalf. Howard is the owner of the Albany Saratoga Speedway, and he's authorized myself and Lou Maraca to submit the following to the town board. After more than a decade of owning and operating the Speedway, I have made a personal decision to sell the Speedway. This is my property. The decision comes after careful reflection on a variety of factors, including the increasing financial challenges of maintaining and operating the track. Given the many changes that have occurred in Malta since I acquired the track, I feel it's appropriate at this moment to move forward. I fully support the buyer's proposed development project and believe it aligns with the community's current needs. He also wanted to address the racing community. And this is what he wants to say to the racing community. I kindly ask that you share the following message. For 70 years, I have dedicated my life to the racing industry, with over 17,500 nights of racing to my name. I've been fortunate to work alongside talented promoter and manager in Malta, as well as many committed employees over the years. Maintaining the track has become challenging in recent years. After much thought and reflection, I've made the difficult decision to sell the Speedway. Racing in Malta has evolved over time, and I believe it's time to make the next step forward. I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the family, friends, and sponsors and drivers who have contributed to so many cherished memories throughout the years. Until the sale is finalized, racing will continue as usual. My request is that you enjoy and appreciate the remaining season and honor my decision to move forward. I have a contract, and we intend to honor that contract. Thank you for your support and understanding.
Thank you. Next, I have a J. Chris Grady from Saratoga Springs.
Thank you, board members. I grew up pretty much at Albany Saratoga Speedway. 1965 in July, I was a 4-year-old kid. My dad worked up there taking pictures for years. We ran a souvenir stand. Racing is a real community. The people around there, I'm still friends with a lot of them from back then. I go down there on Friday nights. I volunteer. I do some work there, and it's a home. And one of the things I want the board to think about is you've got around 20, 22 races a year on Friday night. From 5 to 11, it is noisy. There's no doubt about it. The rest of the year, it's a park. It's quiet. People run their dogs. People drive golf balls. It's a quiet place. You got to really kind of consider, if you allow a project of this magnitude, as was mentioned before, the cars, the traffic, they talked about some things for affordable and all that, but what are you really going to let yourself in for with a project of that size versus what's there now? And I just want people to think about that. It is noisy, but very limited when you consider 344 days a year, it's quiet. Okay, and quickly, the Speedway has been a tremendous asset to the town and community on many levels. Economic driver, tourism, families have enjoyed this facility. It's affordable entertainment. I've run Malta cruise-ins there with old cars. We run those in the past, and it's all been for charity, for cancer research, and things like that. So we do give back to the community there. Development is inevitable, and as a desirable community like Malta and Saratoga County, they do want change, I understand, but a zoning change to allow hundreds of apartments and other developments on the property would be bad judgment call, I feel, for the town. And we urge the town board to say no to this development proposal, not to consider a zoning change. And also, as was mentioned, the 2023 master plan, how does that fit in the project of this size? So really, you know, there is traffic impact, as I mentioned, it was already previously mentioned. But just want the board to consider what you're really letting into the backyard here versus what we have. Malta Drive-In's been there since 1949. When that goes, it doesn't come back. When Albany Saratoga goes, it doesn't come back. So it's a unique thing to Malta and something really they should be honored to have. They've been a good neighbor since 1965, paid all their taxes, and it's a great place.
Thank
That's
you.
Thank you.
Next, I have Thomas Turkenkopf from Malta. Thomas? No? How about Christopher Del Prado from Malta? I signed the wrong sheet. Oh.
We know you're here now.
How about Brian Skanes from Malta? Brian? All right. Gerard Zabala. Zabala.
Thank you, Supervisor Young and board members. I live in Lakeview Landing, which abuts the racetrack. When I moved in, I knew the racetrack was there and assumed it was always going to be there. And I accepted that. Now, the owner wishes to sell it, and he's reached an agreement prospectively with a purchaser who has an interesting and viable plan. I find the plan attractive, and I would like to find out more information about it. I would ask the board to perhaps reconsider and have a workshop or some type of informational meeting to see what truly is proposed is going to develop into concrete plans. Now, I did have some questions tonight. I won't get a chance to ask them, obviously, but I think the board members have done a good job raising those issues about financing, traffic, the volume there, and the type of businesses there. So again, this is the board's decision, and I and other town members will live with that and go forward with our lives. But again, as I said at the beginning, it's an interesting and viable project, and I would support it with some further information. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Szymanski from Malta. No? How about David Rosenberg from Malta? There's not that many.
Wow, that light's bright.
Yeah, but
Good evening, everyone. A couple things I'd like to talk to the board specifically about this project is the benefits that it does bring to the town, and talk a little bit about the density as well, too. As we all know, right now the town is struggling with revenue, and sales tax is the biggest part of that revenue. And the best way to get revenue is have people come into town and shop. And in turn, that money will help support what the town is trying to accomplish as well, too. There is the property tax angle of that as well, too. If that piece of property has more units, it's most likely going to generate more income. And those are a few ways in which the town can help benefit that. Yes, not immediately, but it will come down the road, and based on how it grows, that will happen. I do want to talk about PDDs as well, too. More times than not, PDDs are occurring because of zoning issues. Property is not zoned how it should be for today. Maybe 20 years ago it would have worked, but now it's not. And there's also the realization that when the Speedway decides to close, be it next year or 5 years from now, the chances of that property remaining vacant are probably greater than something of this magnitude being developed, where we can have workforce housing to help the businesses in town with their workforce, which is very, very limited. I think every store that we go to these days, you see a now hiring sign, including mine. And the affordability is part of that. For people to get to and from work, right now we don't have public transportation. Something like this would help that come to be, so that we don't have 700 cars. Maybe we have 400 cars. Over time, the town is going to get stressed. As you look at developments, realize that this one truly does have more benefits. And I think the developers are very sincere about their intentions of developing the front part of the roadside on Route 9 initially, as well as the workforce housing, and then see what time brings, including senior housing, and the last part being something that will be developed as time goes on.
Thank you, David.
I think I hit my 2 minutes.
You hit your 2 minutes.
All right, thank you very much.
Next, I have Steve, can't read the last name, but Brownell Road. Oh, Mosley.
Good evening. The biggest thing that I have, I understand as time goes on, things change. Howie's a very nice man. He's always been good to me. That being said, I am 100% opposed to this project because of the 700 apartment idea. That's going to put a strain on our school system as far as buses, teachers, maintenance, so on and so forth, is in all of that. Also, I think we need to find out, we have Ellsworth Commons across the street. I would like to know what the percentage is of actual rented units in the apartment area and in the commercial area, because there's a lot of open businesses all up and down Route 9. And if there is a way, I don't know if it's legal to do this or propose this, but if these people want to go forward with this, why can't we have them put up a bond in escrow and say 10 years from now, if it's not at 60 or 70% capacity, has to be put back to green space, and the money that's in escrow will be used to do that? Because I don't think that Speedway is ever gonna, I mean, it brings so much into the town as far as for things for the kids to do. And this is another thing we would be taking away from the kids. I grew up there. I mean, I've lived in Malta around Lake all but 3 months of my life. I just turned 70 in October. So I've been here a while, seen all the changes, understand the Speedway, understand growing up at the Speedway, what it's like. And the people from the Speedway, when the races are over, they buy gasoline, they go to the restaurants. I mean, they go to the motels. They're bringing a lot of revenue into the town. 700 low-income housing type situation, I just don't have a good feeling about it. I think it can go south in a hurry, and it can wind up hurting more than helping.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, thank you.
I have a Peter Young from Malta.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak. Just a couple of quick points. Yeah, when I moved in 10 years ago, I signed a one-sentence thing that I knew the track was there. And for 10 years, my entire summers had been shot to hell on a Friday night. It's not only the noise, folks, it's the smell of the gasoline that comes blowing through there. We're about as far away as you can get from the track, and there are nights we have to shut the house up completely because of the sound and the smell. Come on, folks, please.
Yeah,
Let's be polite.
let's be respectful.
Yep. And again, the gentleman, Mr. Commander, he's selling. He wants to retire. He's put his life into this thing. This would give him an opportunity to, turn the land back over to the town for the use and go have a retirement, which he's definitely entitled to. The workforce housing thing is somebody who just came out of, I had 40 years in healthcare. We are so desperately short of housing to get nurses and techs and people like that. So Saratoga Hospital's struggling. This is a great investment in stabilizing the services that any good growing community is going to need. And I guess I'm a little taken back that several of the members are not even interested in exploring the workshops. How how can you turn something down when you don't know more about it? That is, and I guess a bigger question is, why did we just spend, what was it, $14 million on a water company that has significant excess capacity if we're not even going to use it for projects like this? So I guess I'm just a little troubled, and I would encourage you to do the workshop. Let's dig into the facts a little bit more so that all of us are coming from the same position, and then make the decisions about whether this is a good idea or not. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter.
Let me just say a comment. Full disclosure, I had to sit down, individual, me and somebody else with Sumit, and got a individual briefing of the project. So that's all I wanted to say. So I think I'm a little bit more informed than what the presentation was today. Thank you.
Kathy Mason.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the board members who have met with myself and some other folks who are concerned about development in Malta, specifically planned development districts. We really appreciate your time sitting down with us. As you think about any proposals, whether it be this one or any others regarding PDDs, we would again like to ask you just really take your time and consider the following three concerns before you decide whether or not to accept an application. Public benefit, what would the town really like to see? What do you really think is important for this town for a public benefit? Number two, how much density of housing and commercial space are you willing to allow under PDDs? Would you perhaps look at putting a limit on the density that's allowed over what it's currently zoned for? How much green space and/or park space would you want to see in a development? Again, would you consider putting some kind of a percentage value on that has to be 20 or 30% green space? If the board, for some reason, does decide to reconsider this PDD Speedway proposal, I have questions regarding the affordable housing piece, which would be managed by the NRP group. In doing a search on the NRP group, I had a hard time figuring out how well the company does with their management of properties. I could only find 2 ratings, and they were both poor. I'm not saying they're a bad company. I don't know. It was hard to find information. There was a lot of information about all the units that they have all over the country and that they manage, but their actual management practices and reviews of those practices, the only 2, one of them was the Better Business Bureau. It was a D-, and they're not accredited with the Better Business Bureau. And the other was an apartmentratings.com. So I think those should be considered, a real careful review of those companies if you reconsider this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Rick Sheldon.
Yeah, I signed what I thought was an
Okay, signed the wrong sheet. Douglas Robinson.
Thanks for letting me speak. I also live in Lakeview Landing, which is one of the closest neighborhoods to the Speedway. I've only been in Malta for about 1.5 years, but I'm from the area. I went to RPI. I studied mass transit systems, which is somewhat relevant to what's happening. I've driven up Route 9 all different times of the day. Mornings commuting to school. I don't work there all the time. There's capacity on Route 9 to handle it. The big thing would be the traffic circles. But not everybody leaves at the same time. Not all 700 cars ever would leave a development at the same time. People work from home. There are going to be mothers, etc. And the comments I appreciate, and I feel the loss of the Speedway to a certain extent because people have a history with it. But it's not going to stay one because he wants to sell. So what's the best use? You could build McMansions on this property, half-acre, acre property. We'd get some tax revenue and you'd get less cars. But it wouldn't help the community as much as putting in housing that actually increases the population. The town would get more tax and the other businesses in Malta would have more business. Market 32 would love to have that many families suddenly shopping there. Ace Hardware would love it. So it would be a benefit in a tax revenue base. And The last thing I wanted to say was there was a comment about the sidewalk. I think it's an important issue. The new builders, if they can go forward, they can't build a sidewalk on property they don't have access to. That's why they can only give it. But usually there's an easement that allows the government in the first few feet to put in a sidewalk. So we could easily get a sidewalk, working with the people who live in that area, to provide access. Overall, I think it's a benefit. I will say, and the one comment that bothered me a little bit is, you can't have it this way. It's a minimal impact because it's only 1 day a week, but look at all it brings in. It's only bringing in anything 1 day a week. Maybe they park a little longer. People who live there are going to be here 7 days a week, 365. That's more revenue for us. And as far as they're not all going to be school kids, so the impact on the school district, there will be some, but it won't be all 700 families with school-age children. With that said, I'm in favor of the project. It sounds like something I would be in favor of a workshop to learn more, to discuss these issues. And as I say, with a background in mass transit, I know, yeah, there will be an impact, but it won't be the dire straits one that people seem to think it'll be. We might need a traffic light. My last comment, it is bad on Friday nights. We do have dirt. No one talks about the smell either, the gas smell. And I bought a house, I was a rebuy, okay? So I was the second purchaser of my house. I didn't know the racetrack of what nights it raced. My wife and I first heard it, we thought a plane had crashed.
Thank you, Douglas.
Thank you.
Tina, LVR from Round Lake.
Hi, everyone. I wasn't planning on speaking. I signed the wrong sheet, but since I'm here, so please forgive my attire. I'm not personally in favor of a PDD this large. Having been a former board member of Round Lake, I know the struggle that you're going through with consideration of all the information as well as the needs and wants of the residents. But listening to everything tonight, I would encourage you to do a workshop. Thank you. Sorry, it's been a long day. Whatever your personal feelings are, the more information you have, the more information you have to think about. As well, your constituents can use that opportunity to hear your thoughts on why you agree, why you don't agree. Hear the questions, voice their questions, and I would encourage everybody here to send in your questions, your concerns, your thoughts. I'm glad to see a turnout like this. Personally, I feel like there's so much misinformation going around that unless you're here hearing it, you don't know what's going on. So that's another reason I encourage the public workshop is to give, I know you guys know what you're doing, you know what you're talking about, you have lots of conversations, but we don't always hear it. We're not behind the scenes, and having the ability to hear what's going on, what's being thought about, what's being considered, I think is very important. And the last thing I'll say is, I'm along with, and I forget the gentleman's name, I apologize. The comprehensive plan is so important. When I was on the board in Round Lake, I was not popular because I went against a business that wanted to come in because it went against our comprehensive plan that had been just written 10 years ago. And I'm like, if that's not where we're at, then we need to reconsider our plan. Having realized your plan is only 2 years old, 2 years old, it's definitely something you want to follow as much as possible. So I just leave you with the thoughts. Please have a public hearing for your public. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Next, I have Cindy Merrifield. Cindy? No. Jane Chasen?
Good evening. I live on Admiral's Way, so that would be in my backyard. I don't mind the noise on Friday evening. I've gotten used to it. And if I do mind, I go out to dinner or I go to a friend's. I think that that this project is so large, 700 apartments. I'm from New York City. I left apartments. I came to more of a rural area, more of a farmland kind of feeling. For me, this would be compared to putting a farm in Times Square. I think 700 units is really a lot, and I do think it would affect our school districts. I think they're still building houses behind me, across the street. I mean, I don't know if it would be possible for the board to sort of find out how many builders are building, houses are all over the lake. So, I mean, that's something to think about. I mean, as a taxpayer, do I want to build a primary school, a middle school, a high school? No, I don't. The, that is a big, big consideration. I was a teacher for maybe 38 years, and that's always my big concern is what the community is going to do for our kids over, to have larger classes. I mean, that's going to be an impact that you're not going to like. Another thing, the gentleman talked about doctors. My daughter is a doctor, and she hasn't been able to take a patient in 3 years because there's just so many people here that are needing doctors. So that's something to think about too. Where are you going to get professionals coming in, for 700 units, 700 people or more, because they may have partners. So there may be even more cars if you think about it. It just feels like it's not the place to put apartment buildings. I mean, I don't mind single families or maybe a duplex, but apartments, nope. I'll go back to, no, I'm not going to go back to New York City. I love Malta, but it's something to think about how much building is going on, and that's something that you should really check out.
Thank you, Jane.
Okay.
Peter Brooks. I saw you out there someplace.
Thank you for the opportunity. This is a big proposal. I think it's fair to say that most people in Malta are quite concerned about the amount and density of development that's been going on in the town. I think the results of the last couple elections in town have demonstrated that. So with that in mind, I wanted to say, in listening to this presentation, I hope the town board will keep in mind, as Kathy Mason was talking about, is that there's an effort underway to rewrite the section of Malta's zoning code which regulates planned development districts. Representatives of our group, Concerned Citizens of Malta, has met with almost all board members over the past few months to discuss the outlines for that revised zoning code, and we've met one-on-one with you, as you know, and we will be producing a draft text soon for the board's consideration. It would seem to be premature to rush through any new PDD proposal when the rules for PDDs are right in the process of being updated. I guess the last thing I wanted to say is I thought what happened this evening is that you voted not to hold workshops, but it seems like holding workshops is still something that's going to be considered in the future. So I'm asking you to, I think it would be prudent to take a slow pace and consider the results of this effort that's already underway about PDDs. Thanks.
Thank you, Peter.
The fact is that that the developer can still put in an application. At that point, yes, we'd have to open it up and hear the whole thing, start the dialogue, but at this point, he hasn't, so that's where it stands.
I have Tom Remington from Saratoga Springs.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you to the board for this medium for communication. I'd kind of like to speak to the human aspect of closing the speedway. Albany Saratoga isn't a class by itself. Malta. Albany Saratoga Speedway put Malta on the map, not because it has the same name as a famous island in the Mediterranean, or because of the chip plant. It is not even because Albany Saratoga, put simply Malta. It's known to thousands and thousands of people from Maine to Florida as just Malta, not even Albany Saratoga Speedway. There are numerous places this proposed development could be built locally, even in Malta. In the old days of 1969, neither women or kids were allowed in the pit area. Now they thrive there. And anything that families in this day and age can do together is a wonderful thing. I personally know many that are in their fourth generation racing or attending Albany Saratoga Speedway. I'm sure there's probably some fifth generation people out there. To get away from just racing for a moment, Albany Saratoga is also a school. We have all heard this term STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. This sheet enumerates what racing involves and teaches. Geometry, physics, welding, fabrication, automotive mechanics, auto body, regulations, rules, budgeting, marketing, public speaking, mental and physical stamina, people skills, team builder skills, and of course, driving skills. Few, if any, schools teach all that is taught there, all in one place. Plus, sportsmanship and tenacity. If closed, it is a school that will never be replaced. Albany Saratoga is one of less than a handful of speedways in the Northeast that stayed in operation during COVID, observing all federal and state rules and even thrived in that period. That was because of the people, the competitors, that have been there faithfully for all those generations. There are even teams that traveled hundreds of miles to come here and race, and also teams from Canada. Lastly, the pure joy that has brought young and old for all these generations. I know everybody can't see it. This is from September 2018, when the guided fellow that I helped, Jesse Mueller, won this race. This young father and his two sons walked up after the race, stone cold, nobody knew him at all, asked if they could have a picture with Jesse. He said, sure, come on up. 6 years later, if you went up to those people, do you think that they would have anything but the same smile on their faces after that happened?
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
And last I have Lisa DeCitas. Lisa? Is there anyone else that is interested in, just come to the podium, state your name and where you live.
Evening, name is Eric. I'm a homeowner here in Malta. Thank you, council people, for listening to me. I think, just overall, one of the biggest takeaways that I've had here tonight is there's a lot of people that really, have a lot of fond memories about the racetrack and everything. And unfortunately, I don't think the racetrack is going to have a future in the town of Malta just because by the very nature of the individual who owns it wants to sell it. But I think we don't want to miss another opportunity here by letting something like this go to the wayside, where these developers have a very thoughtful plan, and I think they want to work with the town of Malta. Like, they've obviously come to spend time with us and tell us what they want to do and everything. And I think it would just be kind of short-sighted by the council to just not do a workshop. And I think that would be a reasonable next step here. And also to the point of the gentleman that talked about the doctors, or I forget who it said, but one of the reasons that it's hard to get an appointment with a doctor is because there's not the nursing and tech staff. And without the nursing and tech staff having ability to live in the area, you're not going to get those people here. So we need to have affordable housing for individuals that do those backbone of the economy type jobs, like teachers and nurses and police officers and things like that.
Thank you. Okay, say your name and where you live.
Hi, my name's Eric. I'm from right here in Malta as well. So a couple of things that confuse me. I know we mentioned Howard retiring, which I get. He's older. He's not retiring. He still owns another track where he's currently doing a lot of work on that he actually runs. So I just want to clear up. He's not retiring. This is someone selling for the money of it, which I get it. He's old, wants to sell. But I'm from Latham as well, where we had Hoffman's Playland. The Hoffmans were older, also sold to similar development situation, looking for investment apartments, retail. If you are in Latham, it's still sitting there vacant because they weren't able to move forward with the project because they're dependent on other investors buying into it. We currently have a successful historic business here that offers affordable family-friendly entertainment, something that's extremely hard to come by right now. Can't find it anywhere. Not many places you can go to for $12 on a Friday night and have a full night of entertainment. As far as the noise, I live here, it's not that bad. If it's humid, you don't hear it. If the wind goes the other direction, you don't hear it. It's really not that bad. It's once a week, sometimes twice. We really don't have any other options for entertainment. Soon, we'll probably lose the drive-ins as well. And then we'll have absolutely nothing here except for apartments and housing, which we already have too much of. We have empty retail all through Ellsworth Commons, all through Malta Commons, and even next to Price Chopper. We don't need more empty space. We could have put a community pool across from the YMCA. We didn't, so I find it hard to believe we're now going to put one up at the Speedway as well. So really none of the project makes any sense. They mentioned a brewery. We got 2 breweries. We don't need a 3rd brewery. I like to drink. We don't need 3 breweries. That's all I have. That's probably 2 minutes. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you, Board, and thank you all for coming. I'm Denise Duell, and I'm from Saratoga County. Of course, I'm here for the Speedway, Sports Speedway. I understand Howard wants to sell the Speedway. That's his prerogative, absolutely his prerogative. But it can also be sold as a Speedway. I think many people, that business has been going for 60 years. It's like Rudolph. Rudolph's been around for 60 years too. So are we just gonna shut Rudolph off because it's 60 years? I've been very adamant about the Speedway, and please, nothing against your development because it's great, except it's taking a successful business and shutting it down. This is the livelihood of other people. I have a woman that sent me a message, and she said, after 25 years in housing and land development, I've seen the same pattern repeat itself time and time again. While new housing sounds appealing, let's not overlook the long-term effects of our communities. More homes mean more stress on essential services like schools, the police force, which I believe Malta's having an issue with. Historical land developers have promised communities the world, only to pack up, and once leaves, the projects are completed. And at the end of the day, it's those communities that are really left feeling the impact for decades, while the developers head off with a pocket full of cash. You gotta remember, sometimes the disguise isn't worth what your community truly, truly is. And Malta's a beautiful community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, last chance. Anybody else?
My name is Ron. I'm again for the Speedway. Again, Howie's not retiring.
Ron, where do you live, Ron? Do you live in Malta?
Luther Forest.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Okay, yeah. So somebody said, well, traffic on Route 9's not that bad. I used to come out to go to work for 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm waiting to pull out on the main road, Dunning Street, waiting for a pile of cars coming through. if you don't think build a lot of buildings gonna hurt anything, I moved up here in 2017 from Latham. Lived there all my life. Go down there in Latham on 155 on a Sunday morning. It's like rush hour traffic. Go on the northway at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Latham. It's rush hour. I don't think anybody's gonna want that. If you're not sure, go ahead and try it. I drove school bus for 5 years. I gave it up last year. We had shortage of drivers. We had kids that we couldn't pick up. We had to do double runs. All right? Who's paying the overtime? The taxpayers are going to have to pay the overtime for the drivers. Your taxes are going to go up. So yeah, it's not going to lower your tax base because you're going to have to pay for extra services. You're going to have to buy more buses. When they go to EV buses, everybody know what they cost now? You got to get more of them. You're going to have to pay on this. All right? And I'm just saying what's going to, the traffic is going to be horrendous. It's horrendous now. Those circles are obsolete. I came through their bus every day, few times a day. Every time I went through, I got into an accident because of the traffic. And it's just going to make it, it's just going to be worse. The people don't stay in the apartments. Oh, no, I used to have to go to Ellsworth. The kid might be on the bus 4 months, then they're gone. Then somebody else is on the bus, then they're gone. They're not steady. They're just transient. They're in and out, in and out, in and out. They're not staying here. They're not going to make their life here. They're just here for a certain amount of time, then they're down the road. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we'll take one more.
Hi, my name is Chris. I live in Wilton. I get some of the complaints about the people that live close about the dirt and the noise. You know, I get it. I wish I lived closer to the track because I love it. I'm there every Friday night. I've been there for probably 35 years. And I think it's the greatest track in New York. It's the best racing anywhere. I know it's Howie's land. He can do what he wants. My feeling is he bought that property as an investment to make money out of it and then have a chance to sell it to put it into his other facility. I know I've been to Lebanon Valley quite a bit, been to Fonda, been on Syracuse, all the tracks and stuff. I feel that's why he's selling it. I mean, granted, he's 80 years old. He may want to retire for that, but like he says, he's always going to be in the race, and he's just going to take that money and put it out there. Are the people that go to Malta going to travel out there? I mean, they probably. I'm not, so I'm not going to travel, 2.5 hours or more to go out there because I feel that's the best track in the area, and you're not going to replace that to me. So I'm for the track. I don't think we need any more development. I mean, I remember coming here as a kid. There used to only be 2 buildings on that circle, and there were 2 hamburger stands. And because I spent many years on Saratoga Lake, and you look at the property that's here, how many of the apartments are filled? How many businesses are filled? I mean, you look all around, there's vacancy signs, and you talk about people wanting to be employed. I mean, granted, professionals, nurses, doctors, machinists and all that for the chip plant, that's great. But
Thank you, Chris.
I'm just here for the track. So I would just wish Saratoga County would buy it.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for coming out tonight. We will move on now to our, oh, yeah. Yeah, actually, we'll take a couple of minutes if anybody needs to get up.
Everything's done on market price. He's not doing nothing. He's throwing a bunch of shit on stuff by mistake. Everything goes to market price. Look to market compare. You don't have a plan, you don't have anybody there. What do you think? That's biting my lip, man.
Stretch.
Just stand.
I think I went to.
So how fast can we,
Just telling him.
so Cynthia, how fast can we run through these items?
What?
How fast can we run through these items?
Probably not that fast. I mean, most of them, you have to go into executive session about the union.
Can't read the sign?
Cynthia?
Everybody listen up, listen up. Everyone, please, can I have your attention, please? We still have a town board meeting to go through. If you want to have a discussion, please take it outside. Thank you.
Yeah, see Steve.
That was a public service announcement.
Julia's been sitting here. Yeah, for telecommunications. I know. You're up early though. All right, everybody, we're back. Thank you. We'll enter into our, that's okay. Enter into our regular business tonight. The next on our agenda is comments from town board and department heads. I, of course, have a few things. We have changed our meeting from the 30th of December to December 23rd. That's a little change from our normal routine. We thought that, you know, the December 30th between the two holidays was a little, nobody wanted to do it, so we're meeting on the 23rd, our next meeting. Next, we received 6 bids for the Maltaville water system. All were at or below budget. CT Mail right now is evaluating the proposals. We also, Creighton Manning has come back after evaluating the mid-block crossing proposals. The low bidder was Newcastle Paving at $233,347. That is significantly below what the budget was. And so I'm going to ask that we add that as an action item on the 23rd meeting to award that bid so we can get moving on that project. And last, I want to thank our highway department, who all day on Thanksgiving were away from their families so that we could all be with ours. So Roger, if you'll relay the town board's, you know, thank you for all the hard work.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah, I got something. Again, Roger, thanks coming on out for Thanksgiving. Very appreciative. A couple other things. I want to get it for the record, right, that I'm all in favor that Mr. Commander has the right to sell his property. There ain't no doubt about it, all right? We're trying to get the cart in front of the horse, and I didn't like the cart. And if you're all like me, you don't leave your house one time a day, you know? You're going to leave 2, 3 times a day, so, and I understand we're not all leaving, coming out the apartments all together. So it's a significant increase on traffic. And the last thing I got is you said it was 233. What was allocated in the budget for it? Off the top of my head, I don't have that.
330.
Thank you. That's all I got.
Anybody else?
Yes. Every month, we ask people, that we tell them we're not going to respond back to any of their questions. You ask for an email from them. Have we ever received an email with any of these questions? I've not seen any of these
Yeah,
emails.
I mean,
that-
not generally. If we do, if I reply to them, I CC everybody. So generally, we don't. We did respond to the Avondale questions, that I think everybody got the copy of those, was the last. Nobody really tonight asked a question, so.
I know no one tonight asked a question. They were just making
Yeah.
comments, but
Yeah.
usually every month, people are asking questions, and I just,
Yeah, if they're answered. I don't.
it
there's
seems
not
like
usually
very
specific
few then
questions.
emails come in.
Yeah, the last one I remember is Avondale. There were some comments, I meant to mention that were entered into the official record, email comments that are on the official record about the proceedings tonight. So, anybody else? Okay, so tonight's action items, first is,
Before we get into that, could I say something?
sure,
Yeah. At this time, I would like to make a motion for Tim Mossman to the Planning Committee. Steve, can I enter that in, or?
Yeah, you certainly can make a motion to, if you get a second, and then have discussion.
I'll
on-
second it.
Well, but I think you probably want to clear up the motion. I mean, I think we're talking from last board meeting where there was discussions about filling the planning board vacancy.
That's true. This past week, we received the 4 resumes of applicants that are interested. I don't feel that there's any reason to have interviews.
if I may,
Time.
Craig, yeah, I would
I'd
like,
like to bring that onto the floor.
I
All right,
think
so-
Vote.
there are 4 people that are interested in those positions, and I would like to propose that we meet with all 4 of those people.
Right.
You know, I think it's really the only fair thing to do in all likelihood.
Well, I think,
We have
I mean, interrupt, but you had a
resumes.
request for a motion. The only thing I'm trying to clarify is the extent of the motion, and then the discussion should come after that. Normally, we, prepare the resolutions in advance. So I think you should just frame the resolution as, whereas there's presently a vacancy on the planning board, and whereas the town board has the right to fill the vacancy, and now therefore you want to move to appoint Tim Mosman to be the planning board to fill the remaining term of the vacancy, correct?
Correct.
So if that is the motion, then you can make that motion to do that, and then you'd need a second, and then we can proceed from there.
Bring that to the floor. Do I hear a second?
I second it.
So for discussion, I think in all fairness, we should at least consider all of the candidates. I don't think that their resumes necessarily give you the full picture of who they are and why they want to do it. And I just think that, in my opinion, that's the fair thing to do.
In my
Is to interview them
opinion,
all.
in the past, we haven't repeatedly interviewed all the candidates in the past.
Hey, wait a second.
Got to close that door.
We shouldn't be talking to people like that. Just ask them nicely. Well, then ask them nicely.
Anyways,
Craig, that
I
is
think,
true.
Vote is fair on this at this time.
Craig, I'm finished with the discussion here. And it is true, in the past, that has been the case. And I have criticized it in the past. I think that, to be fair, we advertised, we did so, encouraged people to apply. And, it may very well be that Mr. Mosman does get appointed. I certainly have no particular objection to you, Tim, at all. I'm just trying to be fair to all the people that are interested.
And I believe in fairness. I've been here for 9 years, and if we interviewed every single candidate for every single appointment, it would be a real tough challenge.
These are-
Extremely qualified. Can I hear a second on this?
You already got a second.
Yeah.
A second.
Yeah, this is the discussion. I thought that at the last meeting, the same issue came up, and it was agreed that the candidates folks would look at their resumes, and they would be interviewed, and then the selection would be recommended.
I was
to the
going to
board.
propose that we interview the candidates as a board before our meeting on the 23rd, 10, 15-minute interviews, partly to make sure they know what they're getting into, too. It's, there's required training, and they're expected to be at meetings, and
My position is it hasn't changed from the last town board meeting, which I asked for the resumes, and thank you, Melissa, for sending them. And then the planning board was going to get a look-see, because I know they have some questions, which their expertise,
Yep.
And I did send an email out to the board, rank order and who I, liked, 1 through 4. I did like Tim as number 1, but I'm not ready to vote. Well, I'll be voting no, because I wanted to vote both in at the same time, both of them at the same time in the January meeting. And that's, hasn't changed in my position.
I would also just like to add, I'd like to have the opportunity to meet the candidates. I don't know all of the people, and it would be very difficult for me to give a go-ahead on someone I haven't met. I would prefer to do it that way. Thank you.
Okay, further discussion? So, want to do a roll call, Jen, for us?
Councilwoman Connor?
I need some clarification. What am I?
If you say no, we don't make the appointment tonight.
No.
Councilman Ricky?
I vote no for making a recommendation tonight.
And
Supervisor Young?
I vote no for making the recommendation tonight.
Councilman Warner?
Yes.
Councilman McLaughlin?
Yes.
So, if obviously that does not pass, I would ask that we plan to come a little bit early before our next meeting, and we'll try to set up meetings with all of the 4 candidates. In the meantime, the planning board and zoning board chairs will have an opportunity to.
And just to be clear, I read the resumes, and I don't need to be doing interviews as much as
Yeah.
some other people. But again, I want to stick to what I had planned from last meeting.
All right, thank you. We ready to move on to our agenda? First, we have entered into a tentative agreement with our fire protection, with Malta Ridge and the Village of Round Lake Fire Companies. And we need to set a public hearing on those contracts. And so I'm proposing that we set the public hearing for December 23rd. For motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Next, poor Julie, we are here to, the next motion is to approve the installation of telecommunications equipment by Verizon Wireless to an existing pole. This is a 24-inch canister antenna mounted on the top of an existing pole on Route 9 near Old Post Road. We had a public hearing at our last meeting. There were no objections. We are required by the State Environmental Quality Review Act to go through the environmental assessment form, the long form. So we'll try to go through that quickly.
27, how many pages?
That's about 35. No, it's not that many. Okay, so the first question is, does the proposed action involve construction on, physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site? The answer to this one, unfortunately, is yes. But All of the next ones in this category, we have as no or small impact may occur. The proposed action may involve construction on land where depth of water table is less than 3 feet. The proposed action may involve construction on slopes of 15% or greater. The proposed action may involve construction on land where bedrock is exposed. The proposed action may involve the excavation and removal of more than 1,000 tons of natural material. The proposed action may involve construction that continues for more than 1 year in multiple phases. The proposed action may result in increased erosion, whether from physical disturbance or vegetation removal. The proposed action is or may be located in a coastal erosion area. Those were all answered as no or small impact may occur. Next is impact on geological features. The proposed action may result in modification or destruction of or inhibit access to any unique, unusual landforms on the site. The answer to that is no. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies. The answer to that is no. The proposed action may result in new or additional use of groundwater or may have potential to introduce contaminants to the groundwater. The answer is no. The proposed action may result in development of land subject to flooding. No. The proposed action may include state-regulated air emission source. No. The proposed action may result in loss of flora or fauna. No. The proposed action may impact agricultural resources. No. The land use of the proposed action are obviously different from or in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and the scenic or aesthetic resource. No. The proposed action may occur in or adjacent to a historical or archaeological resource. No. The proposed action may result in loss of recreational opportunities or open space resource. No. The proposed action may be located within or adjacent to a critical environmental area. No. No, it's not checked, so I'm checking it. The proposed action may result in an existing change to existing transportation systems. No. The proposed action may cause an increase in the use of any form of energy. No. The proposed action may result in an increase in noise, odors, or outdoor lighting. No. The proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants. No. The proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans. No. The proposed project is inconsistent with the existing community character. No. Seems like an awful lot for a 24-inch antenna on the top of a pole. But based on those answers to the environmental forum, we would determine that it is a negative declaration of environmental significance with respect to this action. So no potential significant adverse or environmental impacts resulting from the action. So with that,
Before we go further, is anything from the board, any
input?
variations to what
Anybody
Cynthia's gone through?
agree?
Any questions for planning, the applicants here? Is there?
he didn't turn his mic on, so I think we're good. So with that.
And wait, hold on. The other part of it too, I wanted to verify procedurally, there were some things that have been submitted that were circulated to the board, including a verification of the initial application. And Jen, you received proof of publishing, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and the applicant submitted to you, they had an obligation under our Malta code to also send notice to residents. You have that, correct?
The verification?
No, there's, I had requested and the applicant had indicated that they had submitted proof of mailings to residents as required by our town code. Do you have copies of those with you, or?
Then yes, I have it.
All right. So I think I've reviewed the application and its completion. We've completed the seeker. It's,
We received the fee.
we did receive the fee. So I think you have a complete application before you. And, you know, at this point, I think you can, you know, continue either discussion or moving with your resolution.
So I will entertain a resolution to approve this.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I think we're good. Next is to adopt an amendment to our local law number 1 of 2024 entitled Water Ordinance and Regulations. This amendment allows for the waiver of the $100 re-levy fee that is proposed in the ordinance because it's related to the purchase of Saratoga Water Services. We purchased the water service on October 1st and had to re-levy the arrears on November 1st, so it didn't give much time for outreach. So we have agreed to waive the $100 re-levy fee just for this 1 year. So I'll entertain a motion on that to amend so move.
Second.
Any
I missed who motioned.
I did.
Craig and Matt.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is to approve the utility easements to Niagara Mohawk regarding the Dunning Street residential subdivision. These are easements for the gas and electric. There were some issues with the original easements that our attorney objected to, but they have been corrected. Another thing, so we are giving easements to National Grid to put the utilities on our property. Another thing to note about this is this action is subject to a permissive referendum. For those of you who may not know, a permissive referendum gives the public 30 days to circulate petitions to object to a particular action by this board. So that's that. If anybody objects to those gas and electric issues, you can circulate petitions. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Next is to authorize the implementation and funding in the first instance, 100% of federal aid and state for the March's Shelley program eligible costs of a transportation federal aid project. We have a project that we got awarded a grant of $1.6 million that provides for us to build a multi-use trail from Taddeo to from the entrance to Taddeo Drive to Saratoga Village Boulevard. It'll be a pedestrian path with lighting and amenities, benches and things like that. It is a project that will serve an underserved area of town, particularly Malta Gardens, where you see a lot of pedestrians on that stretch of road. This is an 80-20 grant. It's federal money. And then 20% is funded by non-federal funds generally. So I will entertain a motion that we will entertain this agreement.
So moved.
Implementation. I need a second first. Second?
Yeah,
Oh.
I'll second it.
Discussion.
Yes, the cost to the town is how much on this?
And at this time, it's $310,000.
310,000?
Here is hereby appropriated from the general fund unreserved fund balance for this project.
If I could clarify something for the board, the agreement before you is the agreement between the town and the state to get reimbursed the funds.
We already approved the
Yeah.
project.
Right, but this agreement that you're looking at now is a requirement of the state because they monitor the federal funds that they receive. And it's our obligation to advance funds, and they get reimbursed. And if we want to get the money, we need to comply with the terms of this contract. It's been reviewed by engineering and by me in planning. So I just wanted to clarify where we are at in this stage here.
That's a good save, Steve, because I was a little confused for a second.
So, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, I would ask that this board go into a brief executive session to discuss the next item, which is the highway contract between the town of Malta and the Teamsters Local. We will go into the executive session, and hopefully it will be brief. I need a motion and a second to do so.
Can we do that last, or we gotta do it now?
Yeah.
Well, we will likely come back and take action,
Or-
one way or the other, so.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll be back shortly.
And Cynthia, I think you want to invite Roger and Julia? into
Yes,
that
Roger
meeting?
and Julia, please come.
I'm gonna,
There will be more business conducted.
everybody might want turn.
Okay, so. Just so I don't know that. So Rick, I'm good on Monday afternoon. Sorry, you can't come, but we're already scheduled. So if you want, we said like 20 minutes. Yeah, like I know 1 o'clock. Okay. Really would love to, but I can't. Right. No, you mentioned something about 3. That was I just wanted to know. Right.
Hey, there he is.
I've been told that I'm not joining you.
Are you one of two?
Filled out the application, they haven't asked me straight.
No, I was just talking to Lance quickly. I was saying that, you know, one of the things that's people have asked me to do is that presentation to the board of I got some numbers to call. If I go too long, I think.
Oh yeah, Chris has got the bell there, so she has used it. So it's on the.
I should have grown up on a farm, I would be up at the farm. That'd be fun, I think that, you know, I gave a, that presentation this day, got March. Most people don't know, and it's I told Roger.
You're right. Yeah, Nellie Johnson, yeah, I did. I used to walk around and go, inappropriate. I'm here. We own a farm in Malta. And I'm a teacher. Yes. I was also one guy who said, right, we'll take it. I just, oh yeah. I mean, I know. Yeah, probably. Yes.
Anyway, he was there, right? Oh, that's good. I did. Yeah, he does.
He made that kind of. And I just said, you know, he wanted to do that. You might get it.
Yeah, right. Well, you know, he's been in the area for a long time. And I know, I used to, used to give him test.
Yeah. And that was in, when you talk about noise.
Did you know ballet?
Yeah. Peter's wife. Yeah, I went to, I didn't know Peter that well, but I met him a few times. Sorry.
Yeah, with John.
Always is.
So I don't have to go.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen
Oh, you mean to the, with,
I really wanted the raw field. I did.
And I was willing to stand there. Holy cow. You know, everybody.
no, then like Roger. Well, yeah, right.
Good look.
Yes.
You're not farm. Yeah. Thanks for staying, everybody. We gotta wait for,
I think they have to stay.
well, they have to stay. They don't have to stay. We're just waiting for Councilman Connor to come back. I think she's coming.
She got her pencil here. She ain't got, in her purse.
Oh, yeah, her purse is here. She's coming back. What'd you guys talk about while we were gone? You were with us. There she is. You're a little late, Your Honor. So I will entertain a motion to approve the highway union contract between the town of Malta and the Teamsters Union.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Next is we've been kicking down the road for a couple of months to adopt the amended Human Resources Employee Handbook. There weren't really any major changes, updated language, policies that were not addressed but needed to be added. some other sections with language just to clarify the policies. We've changed the bereavement policy a little bit. We added Juneteenth as a holiday, and the emergency situations policy was updated. So I entertain a motion to adopt the amended human resources.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So you're just in time for this. Accept the comptroller's court audit report for Justice Fossey and Justice Sloat. Our comptroller is required to review the court records. And this board has to accept those because it's the court. And in both cases, her statement is, as a result of the procedures performed during the annual accounting of the court, no material findings were noted. In closing, the financial records of the town of Malta, Town Justice Fossey and Sloat appear to be maintained in a professional manner. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is to renew the vendor service agreement with Prestige Services. Prestige Services is the company that services the vending machines at the community center. The community center has reported that they're happy with the service, so we want to renew that contract.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is to renew the Town of Malta Volunteer Firefighter Service Award Program with Penflex Actuary Services. This is the LoSAP program that they meet all the requirements. They get a retirement benefit.
So moved.
Second.
I guess it's not a retirement benefit.
They earned it.
They never retire. Old firemen never retire. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is to adopt the Town of Malta Administrative Matrix. Basically, this is the fees for everything that we charge fees for, rentals, permits, water, anything you can think of. And this schedule is on file in the clerk's office once we adopt it.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
So generally speaking, everything's going up 2.5%?
Everything goes up generally by 2.5%. There are a couple of other changes that were recommended by the planning department. And of course, the other new part is there's a whole section for our water department of fees. So,
Yeah, that increase is lower than inflation.
yeah.
What was it?
I didn't hear the question, Matt. What was it?
No, I'm just pointing out that the increase, which I support, is lower than inflation, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
I support that.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The next two, we have to establish a wage and salary schedule, and I'm missing a page. The wage and salary structure is first. This is basically how we determine, it's kind of cumbersome, the structure we have, and we do want to review it sometime in the first quarter. But in the meantime, we need to adopt this so we can pay people. So it also is on file in the town clerk's office.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next is the wage and salary schedule, which is what we pay everybody individually. So, any
So moved.
motion? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The town of Malta authorizes some employees who haven't used their vacation to carry it over into the following years. More than 5 days, but no more than 10 days. We have 9 employees that want to do that. And, 9 employees that want to carry over some vacation. So we need to pass a resolution to authorize that.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Last on the agenda tonight is the budget transfers. The assessor's office needs a new copier. The town clerk has requested some more shelving for her records management. And there's transferring additional money to the community center in preparation of the year end, which, huh? Reallocating, right, not transferring from one department to another. Have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And additional comments? Anyone in the public want to have some additional? Why are you guys all laughing back there?
I got a question.
Do we need to call an ambulance? Okay.
I got a discussion. How's our new courthouse coming along?
We are in the process of trying to set up a workshop, as you all know, to meet with the Labella.
I'm in favor of that workshop.
It's been a little troublesome trying to find time for,
When you say workshop, is this a public forum or is
it is a public meeting. Basically a special meeting, which has to be advertised and open to the public.
that far along to?
Well, unless three of you want to volunteer not to be in on it, then yes.
I'm gonna be traveling anyways.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, at this point, they got a refinement floor plan. They're interested in where we want to put it.
Yes, we have to make a determination about where on site it's going to go.
Big ticket item that they
Yeah.
gotta have to
Right.
proceed going.
And they need our input for that.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna,
To have I mean, they're gonna come here, they're gonna pay them, or we have to pay them, and, I mean, it's,
Well, like I said, it has to be advertised as a public meeting unless three of you don't want to be involved in it.
can it even be a Zoom
It's
call?
it's still a public meeting if there are more than three of us, or three or more of us. We can't meet as a quorum. So I'm more than willing to,
I just don't think it's that public. Every time we meet with the engineers, and we're gonna have to have a workshop. I've been to a lot of design reviews, and I have never, ever.
It's just a mere fact that if you have more than 3 board members present, you have to advertise it as a meeting, so. So, just,
I'm willing to invest an hour to see where the project is.
you can also put a committee of 2 of you to handle the initial meetings and do that if you so choose after the first meeting.
Set the questions out, right?
but again,
Okay, well, I think that where we're trying to go is that the judges want input from the town board. So if you don't think a meeting is necessary with the engineer, you guys can get direction yourself, but we can't meet and can't do things unless we're complying with open meetings laws. So there's different ways to do it. But, what's before us to move it along is to have the meeting. And if you can't go, that's okay too, but if not, the board can come up with its own procedure to move this forward so that you don't have to spend unnecessary money for travel with the engineer and otherwise. So, but at this point, we don't have that procedure, we don't have a policy, and we're trying to get it moved forward at the request of the judges.
so,
oh, I like to be at that because I think it's very, very important. We get a new courthouse and how it lays out because that's our project and not somebody else's project. And if we're going to get it right, we might as well have a discussion about it. And
okay. So anyway, we're working on scheduling that, so. It likely will be on the 9th, so You might not be here anyway, because you didn't have much availability in December. He's a traveling man. Yeah. Okay, any other further business? Any comments? Marie, you had something? Do you want to come to the microphone and?
Quick question with regard to the zoning study that followed up the comprehensive plan. Can you give us an update on that?
We met with them recently. They have prepared a survey that they want to send out to planning board members, zoning board members, and other interested parties that, so you'll see that as the next thing. They want to get input from other interested people, and not a general survey for the general public. We felt that the one that was completed with the master plan was actually good enough. So
It's moving forward. It's not
moving
dead.
forward.
Are we going to see that survey by the end of the year?
I was thinking we were going to see it within the next week. Right, so you should see it.
Thank you.
Murray, you're a hero. Answer the question.
It was an easy one. Anything else? Any other business before this board? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Usually somebody jumps right on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?